Hi, I'm Valerie Mann, and I'm here with Lynda Cole, and we're from WSG Gallery, which is an artist-owned gallery in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we've started this little video chat series where you can see behind the scenes a little bit for the artist's process and some of the ideas behind their work, and just get to know a little bit more about them. Lynda, she has made beautiful work since I joined the gallery, which has been probably 12 years ago. And I've been just really enjoyed seeing the work. And I always feel like when I see your work, it is a multi-pronged response I have to it. And it's visual, intellectual, emotional, and physical, like a gut response. Standing in front of it, looking at the color, the surfaces, and I really just want to ask you some questions about your processes and your approaches, and in particular your approach to color. You have some new pieces that you want to share with us, and I just think the colors are so, there's something so that almost defies using words to describe them, right? Again, it's like this gut reaction that I have to see in the work. Would you mind showing us a piece?
Sure, Val. Why don't I share my screen?
Okay, sounds good.
And then we can talk about a few of these. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm going to come to this one later.
All right.
So what you said about color and your response to my artwork is interesting to me because that's sort of what I'm going for. I don't do narration, and I'm not interested in a lot of things going on, but I would love to set a mood that somebody can find their own story with. So that's what this one is about. It's called Approaching Realization, and it's about 15 inches high and 12 inches wide. So it's not a very big piece.
It strikes me as being vast, this piece, right? There's this sense of vastness in the, when I first looked at it, Lynda, it almost looked to me like the larger section of the canvas that's lighter felt to me like images I've seen of the moon with the dark space behind it, right? And then the moon in front of it, and then this little sliver of magic floating in front of it. Could you talk a little bit about how you approach this piece?
Sure. Well, I think you sort of caught it, because when I look at it as a finished piece, I see the sky also. This is sort of where I go with it. I didn't necessarily start out that way, but that doesn't matter. It always ends up somewhere, frequently different place from where I started out. But it's got a feeling of approaching, and it's got a feeling of the same time it's got a feeling of kind of peacefulness to me. So I'm imagining sort of a path or a journey, and this is a part of it.
So I'm thinking of the words you're using to describe this, and the imagery itself, and the idea of sort of you're coming up to this idea, and it's just always just a little bit out of, it's there, but it's a little bit out of reach, and not just sort of in the physical sense of being out of reach, but almost like an idea that comes, it's almost there, that you just can't quite nail it down. I mean, I think sometimes art, I just remember in art school people saying, well, how do you even grade that? Is there right or wrong? And it's like, well, technically there's some things that are right or wrong, like craftsmanship wise and stuff like that, but there is more of an openness to how you look at something, and how you approach, in critiques, for instance, you're approaching someone else's idea. And as an artist, you have to be open to what that person brings to it. So one of the things you said at the beginning was not trying, I don't know if I'm using the right words here, but not try and to define too much what you want the viewer to see, but to leave it a little bit open.
Definitely. That's sort of always my goal. I think of it in terms of what's going on for me as I put paint on this page. But I don't think of it in a narrative way. I just think of it as, I'm not sure what's going to happen next, but I'm going to try this. And then it goes from there. But it usually ends up, oddly enough, with my need for sort of a, I don't know if you could call it a path, but some sort of an exploration. I guess that's the best way I can say it.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you have another piece you'd like to show us?
Sure. So this one, you can see a bit of a similarity in it, just because many of my things these days seem to have a line in them. I don't know why. Not sure what that's about. Could be a path. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this one is called Food for the Fish, and it was named after I made it, and it's mainly because of the colors. Could be an algal bloom sort of thing. That's what I was thinking.
Beautiful. I was looking through some old sketchbooks the other night, and I came across a quote I wrote down from Maya Lin, and it was something to the effect of, "You're not always going to know what's going on in your artwork," you know. And I love that, because so often people ask, they want to nail you down, they want you to be definitive, and it's like, you know, sometimes you just make it because that's what feels right to make. And again, there's maybe not specific words to describe what's going on in it.
You know, the other thing is, it's as much, people have said this, but it's as much a matter of knowing when to stop as it is what to put down. Because if you don't stop at some point that's really touches you in some way, then you're going to just mess it up. So
it's so true. I think as an artist, you have to be open. You know, we have ideas that come to us as we're approaching the piece of art we're making, but you have to also have the wherewithal. Like you're of course very connected to what it is you're making, but you also have to have the wherewithal to have a little bit of separation so that you can look at it objectively, you know. And yeah, I often feel like I need someone standing over my shoulder saying, "Stop right there."
Stop right there, really. Yeah. I get that feeling often, and that's usually the time when I will stop for the day on that piece and leave it aside and think I'll come back and see what it looks like tomorrow. And it's often so different.
Definitely. I often tell my students too, like when they'll be real judgmental with themselves about a drawing, just put it up in your house somewhere where you can look at it and keep walking by and look, you know. Do you have another one? I know that Softly Spoken is very different color-wise.
Okay, so yeah, this is from a little while ago. This is 29 inches high and 21 inches wide. All of these are oil paint and cold wax paintings. So this was just I was trying to get away from very much in the way of heavy colors. I got some pretty light colors. There's nothing to really say about this. There's no story. It's just a combination of colors that I like together.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think that as an artist, that's part of when you feed your own soul when you go back into something and you're just doing some experimenting with colors.
Yeah. I've done a fair amount of that in recent time too.
Yeah.
This next one, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Show us your next one too.
Okay, so this one is from a fairly recent body of work. And again, I'm exploring colors, but I'm also working in a bit of fog, because this piece came after a trip to the Arctic. And there were times when the fog was on the water, you couldn't really see what was there very much, but it was gorgeous and just beautiful and very moody. So I was trying to work some of that in with this piece.
It's lovely. I mean, it just, I think your pieces that took place after the Arctic, there's this feeling of silence and quiet. I think you might have mentioned to me that it was so quiet when you were there.
quiet was a character.
Yeah.
At times. Other
Yeah.
times it was very noisy with birds or.
Interesting. Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit about, while we have a little bit of time left here, you know, these pieces, I mentioned to you the other day that I'm interested in, you work in 2D and 3D, and I do too. And I'm interested in how your 3D work affects your approach to your 2D work. And so I wonder if we could talk about your last piece, Rain, and just sort of think about the surfaces and space, and just talk a little bit about how those relate maybe.
Sure, I'll put Rain up here. It's
and while you're putting this up here, I'll just introduce that it was came about as a result. You had a piece in ArtPrize, which is this big competition that we have in Michigan in Grand Rapids, and you won third place, which was huge. It's a really wonderful honor, and you know, this piece is so special in so many ways, because when the light hits it, you can see a little bit in the upper left of the image, there's reflection up there. You can see these beautiful reflections all over that are like coming upon a body of water reflecting in an indoor space. So I'll stop talking and have you talk a little bit.
Okay, so to give you a scale, this is 15 feet high and 10 feet wide and 10 feet deep. And those are bits of, I painted silver leaf on Duralar, which is like a mylar, and then hung them all on monofilament with little hangers under them to keep them in place. And so that's what this is composed of. And it does move with, you know, any room movement. These things are not tied to a space.
They respond to the ambient airflow, right?
That's what they do. They respond to the ambient air movement. So if you have blowers around or something, you'll get a lot of movement. But this is really nice. This is in the Gordon Food Service headquarters in a small town outside of Grand Rapids. I can't remember the name of the town, but anyway, so this is in an atrium, and you're looking at it from the second floor, and it goes on down. If you can sort of see the elevator behind it. But anyway, that's the setting, and it's really perfect for this spot. It came about as a commission from someone, a designer who saw the work in ArtPrize in Grand Rapids.
So it's beautiful, because those little, each one of the little pieces with the silver leaf on it reminds me maybe in terms of like paint stroke and mark making, almost like your paintings are like these little bitty, you know, marks on there that are very what's the word when I look at your paint strokes? They're paint strokes without being forced, right? They have the feeling of just having happened, right?
Well, I get a lot of you know, this has a lot of geometry to it. If you see it from a certain direction, you can see through the rows. Mm-hmm. And my three-dimensional work almost always has a lot of geometry to it, and that feeds into the two-dimensional work. And that I don't want a lot of subject matter, but I also want to there's somewhere in it you're going to find some lines, even if they're pretty subtle. Mm-hmm. Lines are going to be part of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's beautiful, and I think that we can wrap it up in a second. But I just, you know, thinking about that almost chartreuse algal bloom piece you talked about before, with the line going through it, you know, and I see these lines start to connect. I see the mark making. I see, oh yeah, and there's a line too. But it, you know, it's funny. I didn't think of it as a line when I first looked at it. I thought of it as this floating, just this floating shape, you know. It's almost like an iceberg, right? Or something like that. So
well, and in this file too, you can sort of see the mark making of the silver leaf pieces in the background there with the way the marks are made. So
yes, definitely. Now, did you use like a squeegee? What did you use for that mark making?
Brayers, mostly brayers, and sometimes credit cards. I like the edges of credit cards and brayers. Yeah. Those are my main tools. Sometimes other things, but those are the main tools.
That's great. Thank you so much for talking with us, Lynda. This has been really fun, and it's been nice to get a little bit of insight into your creative process and your the thoughts and the energy that goes into these. I really appreciate it. Thanks for talking today.
Thank you for having me talk to you. Thanks, Val.
Yeah, you're welcome.